There's no screens in front of me, guys, so I can't see what's going on, but welcome into the TexAgs post-game wrap. What an unacceptable performance against Mississippi State. Texas A&M falls 26-22, a game where the defense was bad. The offense was bad. Nothing went right, and I'm at a loss for words on this one because every moment that I think I've figured this team out, I told you guys all week, just run the ball. Give me a little bit of offense. That wasn't the case. All right, this post-game wrap, by the way, is brought to you by Higginbotham Insurance. You probably only think about insurance when you need it, but at Higginbotham, they think about your risk for you, and they want you covered year-round. They start with listening and end with a custom solution that fits your needs and your budget. Whether it's your home, your car, your health, business, or employees, Higginbotham has you covered. They're a place that leads with value, so value can lead. You can call Tyler Smith up at 979-871-3162 or check out higginbotham.com. So I told Billy before the show started that sick of playing nice. This was not good, and it hasn't been good for a while. And I don't care that they had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. They had the ball with a chance to win. This team is making mistakes all over the place. It has costly penalties. They play bad defense when I expect them to have really good defense. How many yards did Mississippi State go for? Almost 500, 438 yards in the game. Just unacceptable. So with that, I know Billy's got a lot of stuff going on. We'll do Luchador tomorrow, but he's here with us. Billy, we were together there on the sideline, both walking gingerly thinking, hey, they got the ball. I know they're at the 11, and that couldn't have been a worse way to end the game.
Well, yeah, it's just like before you knew it, the drive was over. Yep. Sack, another horrific blocking effort, another example where Calzada couldn't get rid of the football, much less in the end zone with game on the line. You were stuffed for no gain on first down. A lot of times there's running room there to be had, 2-minute drive at the end of the game coming off your own end. I actually like the call of running the football. It's just blown up. Just a terrible couple weeks for this football team. Really a terrible season so far. This team has not in any way, shape, or form come close to even resembling the team we thought we said. And you look, if they would have been a little overrated at 7, 6, 5, whatever they were, I could live with that. I certainly understand. I've been banging the drum, and I completely understand what they're working against on offense. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Mississippi State's backup quarterback is, but if Rogers got hurt on the second possession today, I bet A&M wins that football game, and I bet Mississippi State has a rough few weeks. That's just the quarterback thing. Then you have the line, the receivers. But it's what we're seeing goes so far beyond that, because that's when you say, okay, well, you've got this elite defense that should step up. If the defense was nearly as good as we thought, you can win these last 2 games on the strength of your defense if they were what we thought they would be. But they were carved up today. They were humiliated. I know it's only 24 points by the offense. They had a nice stretch there in the fourth, middle third quarter on, but they were humiliated. The guy had 300 yards passing early third quarter, 250 at the half. People could say they nickeled and dimed. No, they shot down the field too. They were eating up 10, 12, 13 yards, a long touchdown. The defense has not come close to living up to expectations. When your starting quarterback that you did build a lot around breaks a leg, then defense should have been like hair on fire against Arkansas and Mississippi State. But secondary's getting torched. I don't know, there hasn't been many a play made by the linebackers all year. The defensive front, if you want to rely on them to get a 3-man pressure, they're not doing that. It's just been the defense has been disappointing. The offense has been an abject disaster. And on one hand, I understand why, but on the other hand, you're still playing. I don't care. You're playing Arkansas, Mississippi State. You've got to be able to, work through it better than that. If you want to put that much of it on, Calzada has been really, really bad.
It's been bad.
I've said it a million times. I'm rooting for the kid big time, but he has not played well. And look, then you can say that and say, well, why is the backup quarterback? Why was he not ready to play? You're number two. You went into a season with a number two that wasn't ready to play. That's part of a problem too. So there's so many things that we can chip away at. But at the end of the day, all I'll just say is, this has been so far one of the most disappointing A&M teams in a long time.
Yep.
And they've been dealt a rough hand, but we haven't seen them fight through it and get better yet. And we're almost they're playing Alabama next week, and I'm going to tell you, we are halfway through the season.
Yep. And
they're going to be sitting at 3-3. Okay. And they're going to be 0-3 in the SEC. So I almost even get the Arkansas loss. You say, look, they're trying to figure this out. Their offense was decimated. Defense, there's like no margin for error. But you gave up 17 points on 3 possessions and 300 yards and a half to Arkansas. And you came back and did basically the same thing against Mississippi State. You just lost a home game, and they're trending to be the last place team in the SEC West this year. That's where they're trending. Now they've got to play Missouri, South Carolina, Auburn. Those games will probably decide, Auburn might be a contender too. But it does, whatever, 6th, 7th. This is a bad deal that we're seeing in terms of this football team. And what disappoints me is it's just that you're not seeing them get any better.
They're getting worse, I feel like. I feel like this is not the same team that started the season against State. Yes.
They ran the ball better tonight.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the one thing. Like
maybe
they found the O-line, but I mean, they're getting free rushers still, just killing the quarterback, a quarterback that needs help. Well, we're starting 2 true freshmen up front. Well, then what happened up front? And I know what happened. You can go through. This is an injury. This was a recruiting miss. This was maybe you needed a grad transfer or transfer this year that you didn't take. And then you've got multiple injuries. I get it all, but the product, name a position group outside of running back that hasn't been a disappointment so far. Maybe the D-line, but they're a part of a defense that has not been nearly as good as advertised. Do I think they're a bad defensive line? No. But the unit,
the collective product.
Yeah, and they're a big part of that. So, I mean, I can't say any group on the defense has been strong. And then you look offensively, and it's like, yeah, Spiller and A-Chain can make things happen. And you literally have to stop there. So
what I don't understand,
Haynes King being hurt doesn't do all of that. It doesn't make it easier, but it doesn't do all that.
It starts to spiral downward, and then I believe the team doesn't believe they're as good as they believe they were a few weeks ago. I mean, everybody was open. Every time there was a pass, somebody was open, and I couldn't understand why they were so open.
Yeah, and by the way, the coaches have to look at themselves here too. This is 2 weeks in a row where you can't put a product on the field with all your recruiting, all your blue chips, and even with the injuries. Because I'm going to tell you that other teams are dealing with those too. Maybe not as bad as A&M, but you're doing all that, and you lost to Mississippi State and Arkansas in back-to-back weeks. One of them at home. And so what you're doing defensively is not working. It didn't work against Mike Leach and the spread, but then it didn't work against Kendall Briles and a running quarterback in KJ Jefferson. That's not working. Clearly what they're doing offensively isn't working. And I'm sure Jimbo's like sitting there going, if you can't block and you can't throw, but at the end of the day, you've got to figure out, like, do we have to grind out 4 yards of play and play that way? Do I have to completely take the ball out of my quarterback's hands? Do I have to put in a walk-on freshman quarterback just to try to get some better decision-making or some faster decision-making, in terms of getting rid of the football? Like, you've got to do something, because this isn't nearly good enough. And I'm torn right now between wanting to just say this is just say this is terrible, this is terrible, this is unacceptable, this is awful, this is as bad as it gets, and I'm also like, God, I mean, I've never seen an A&M offense deal with this much on the O-line / quarterback front. the inexperienced front. Demas is running around out there on the second play, and Calzada rifles it in, and it's a little behind him, but then he should catch that. It's a good play design right out of the chute. It's an interception. And it's just one thing after another like that. You get down twice, you get down there, and you don't get touchdowns and you lose a close game. And twice you go in there and your quarterback gets blown the hell up, and you're lucky that Seth Small's money tonight because you knocked him into much harder field goals twice with 10-yard sack, right either inside or right near the red zone. And you're lucky that you didn't give up 14 points, but you only gave up 8. Well, guess what? It's probably the 8 that lost you this game. So just a lot. There's a lot that just makes you scratch your head. And then you have to call timeout before a 2-point conversion. Mm-hmm. There's late substitutions. There's penalties, it feels like, on damn near every special teams play. So it was a rough one. It was a rough one. I'm way more dejected and disappointed watching tonight's game than I was a week ago.
100%.
It ain't even close.
100%.
That Mississippi State team's not good. Oh, by the way, they lost to Memphis. And if you want to say, well, they really should have beat Memphis. Well, they took a miracle to beat Louisiana Tech. And they played LSU close. Well, they were down 28-10 late in that game. They got 2 late touchdowns to make it look closer. They're not a good football team. They're not a good football team. And you let Will Rogers look like Aaron Rodgers because you never could get to him because their O-line kicked your D-line's butt.
Yep, they did.
And now maybe a lot of times it was 3-on-5 or whatever. But, I mean, here's the thing. Over the 2 games now, they haven't forced a turnover defensively. And in 3 games now against Power 5, they've scored, 4 touchdowns?
Yeah, and I think they forced 1 turnover against 3 Power 5 teams. That was
they had the pick against Colorado early.
And that's it.
So 1 turnover in 12 quarters when you have to step up and win. So I think this goes across the board. Coaches can't sit there and go, well, injuries and these guys just keep screwing up what we're trying to do, and we can't get it right. It's not that easy. You can't say that. There's got to be more done to put the better product out there. But also at the same time, the players don't get to hide on this one too. I had a buddy of mine who's a coach, high school coach, and he starts doing the whole thing that their schemes at the high school level, or and I'm like, all right, you know what? Like, he said that about every coach that's ever been through here. So A&M's had never had a coach better than any coach in Texas high school football ever.
Wow.
Dating back to RC. That's when I started doing this, and this guy's been there to parrot this every time, every coach, every coordinator. So I throw that part out, but I understand the complaint is that they're getting out X and O's. But at the same time, his whole deal is it's not the kids. It's both. They don't, the players, we use the word kids to kind of, it's kid gloves with them. And, I'm not going to sit in here tomorrow, grill I hope one of the guests really wants to open up and talk about it. Like, hey, I don't know what's wrong. We're trying to figure it out too, however it goes. But they're not, you don't have to cover them. We praise them when they're playing good, when they're not playing well either. So it's the whole deal. Like, we're not seeing any execution. Very few players can I point at and say they're playing really well right now. Most of them you can say it's been pretty disappointing. I would hope that these guys would look in the mirror and go, man, I'm not playing nearly as good as I thought I would this year. For whatever reason, and this team, David, at the end of the day, I guess all I can really say is they just don't have it. Whatever it is, whatever last year's team had,
they don't have it.
They don't have it.
They're not even close to it.
No.
And I feel like I really believed in this defense so much that I thought, all right, we can weather. It was the same. You can weather the storm long enough, and then we'll see what happens at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But now I've lost hope because the defense didn't do anything today. And yes, can you say that 26 points you can win a game that you'll allow?
It's 26 points to Mississippi State, man.
Yep.
It's not a good defensive. It's not even close. It was a terrible defensive performance. And it was a terrible offensive performance. It's been a terrible offensive performance every time they've taken the field against a Power 5 team. Colorado's one of the worst teams in Division I football, and you're lucky they didn't beat you. I was willing to do a mulligan. I was willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one when your quarterback goes down. First road game, second game, brand new O-line.
Right.
I get it. Arkansas, look, they're the most experienced defense in the SEC, and your offense had we were pretty rough on the defense last week. But offensively, I was like, God, I hate it, but I get it. It's the most veteran defense in the conference, if not one of the most veteran ones in the country. But then to come out tonight and it just, like I said, they ran it better, but that's about it.
Right. I mean,
you just lost to Mississippi State, and it's the second time in 4 years that A&M's lost to them, and it's the whole thing. Like this team, it's like I think it's coaches, players, everybody's just at a loss right now to try to figure out how to fix it. I can't imagine the frustration over there. You think you're frustrated.
Of course they
poor
are.
David Nuño and poor Billy Liucci, they have to come talk about it. Oh man, and people are, picking on poor little Billy on Twitter because, or gosh, man, I have to come in here and interview the players. Well, it's going to be tough because they just lost, you think we're frustrated?
Oh, I know.
You think as a fan you're frustrated? They've got to be, because they clearly don't have the answers.
Right.
And that's what scares you because our job is to sit here and say, well, what does this mean? I'm sitting here going, how are they going to feel going into Missouri after 3 straight? They're not beating Alabama. How do they feel going into Missouri after 3 straight losses on the road, like against another team that, it's going to be like completely nobody there. Like, until Haynes King gets back, and it's a lot to put on that kid, by the way. Oh, hey, he broke your leg, and as soon as you get back, we expect this whole team to turn around because of you. I mean, I don't foresee that happening either. I could certainly see him injecting some life into this thing, but even when he comes back, he's still going to be 6 weeks removed from a pretty horrible broken leg that required surgery. So you're looking at the season trying to go, how do they stay out of the basement? How does this go from being their worst SEC season yet? And I always say, like, let's not get too far ahead. They can beat Missouri, they can beat South Carolina, they get Haynes back and beat Auburn. But what does that even really mean? Because can you go win on the road in Oxford? Can you go win at Death Valley? You're again Bama next week, but because that's the only way, Nuño. And if this team somehow won out after Bama and Haynes came back and played his ass off, and then that's a whole nother conversation we can have then to try to kind of write the final book on this 2021 team. But as we sit here today, that sounds like the ramblings of like someone that's just absolutely insane.
Yeah,
we're watching is not that.
No. What we're watching is a team that can't stop somebody right now. That has a talented backfield that without that, I have nothing. There's nothing really positive.
David,
I saw.
I see a team. I see players. I see coaches. Like I see the whole thing where it just seems like they're in it's like quicksand, and it just keeps getting worse. And it's like the more you fight it and pedal your feet and try to get, it's like the worse it's making it. And that's what it feels like watching them right now. Because it's not like they don't not care.
Of course they care.
I actually feel terrible for them. Again, like I'm sitting here like, oh man, poor, we got to cover this. Damn, fans, they got to follow this, have to come trudge their way into Kyle Field. I feel way worse for them than I do for me. Right? But at the end of the day, it just is what it is. They're just not very good. And it's hard to explain why. I hated the effort at the beginning of the Arkansas game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that way tonight.
No,
felt like they were completely mistake prone though, but it's like you got to take a little more pride in your. I just feel like I just want to see them take a little more pride in their one-on-ones. If you're a lineman block the son of a gun in front of you. Don't go off sides. Don't take a delay game. Don't take a sack when you don't have to. Don't olay somebody and get your quarterback killed. Don't get knocked on your ass on 2nd and 3 and put it into a 3rd and 7, because your running back can't even take a step. Don't drop a pass that gets intercepted. Don't miss a wide open Weidemeyer on a play that could have been a game-changing play there in the 3rd quarter. I can go up and down the list. Create a turnover in 60 minutes of football or 120 minutes of football, actually since the first drive of Colorado. So almost 180 minutes of football, you've created one turn. That means no one on the defensive side is stepping up to make a play. Whip the guy in front of you and get to the quarterback. To me, it's like there's got to be a level on a pride thing. Don't hold a guy on a punt return when Anais Smith runs for 50 yards and it gets called back for the 3rd time this year already. It's tough, man. It's tough to watch. It's tough to talk about.
We've been going for about 20. So I know that you and I are going to do the luchador tomorrow. I'll leave you with this thought. We're standing there in the sidelines, and there was a chance the Aggies were going to win. And I was thinking to myself, it don't matter if they win because you're just trying to weather the storm. But does it really matter? Because they're not good. And that was the part I was debating in my head. Of course, I want the victory, and then you survive the next week, and maybe you get to Missouri and you're feeling better. But I'm like, what I'm seeing, it doesn't really matter. They can't stop anything right now. And that was the hard part for me.
I get you, but I think this game was the turning point. I said this 2 weeks ago, and I'll close with this. I said these 2 games were going to write the story on their season because we were all nervous for what we saw against Colorado and even New Mexico. They couldn't block them.
Yep.
We were all nervous, and it's like, look, if you just figure out Arkansas, Mississippi State on the other side of Bama, and then you saw 13 coming back. These past 2 games, I said we're going to tell the tale of the season, and I meant it, and I was right. I wasn't wrong. I was hoping they would find a way to win those, and guess what? They found a way to lose them. And it was a worse 0-2 than you probably could have explained to me because, like you said, they don't look like a good football team at all right now. Had they won tonight, and had they not gone negative 11 yards with the game on the line, negative 11 yards for just a ugly, ridiculous safety, run, lost yards, pass incomplete, damn near pick, sack for a safety. One of the worst game on the line drives I've seen from an A&M offense ever. And had they not done that and they went down and kicked a game-winning field goal, which you had, 2.5, almost 3 minutes to do, plenty of time, and 2 timeouts. Had they done that, it would have mattered. Yeah. Would they have been a good football team yet? No. But Missouri, South Carolina, bye, Haynes back, Auburn, it would have mattered. Now I just don't know what they can do that's going to matter here. But look, I remember seeing an A&M team, and I know we're going long. They can come in here.
No, it's just going to be us 2 today.
Here's the thing. I remember an A&M team that lost to Oklahoma State in 2010. They lost to Oklahoma State. They lost to Missouri, and they got humiliated. I think that was 33-6. And they lost to a 3rd game. I wish I could remember who it was to here. But Oak State, Missouri, and somebody, they were 3-3. Maybe it was a non-conference game early. They were 3-3 or whatever it was. They were bad. And they changed out Gerard Johnson, who was hurt, wasn't able to. They changed out to Tannehill. They started running the ball a lot. Tannehill play action, Tannehill QB. All of a sudden, they went out until the bowl game. They don't have that. I just don't think there's that. Maybe it's Haynes coming back later, but you wish you had it right now because in some weird way there is that kind of magic pill sitting there down the road. But unfortunately, after today, it feels like it's just going to be too little too late. Whereas this was Sherman was able to pull it and make that change that early. This is not a change that they wanted to make. They didn't want to be without Haynes King, but it's just hard to see, like by the time they get there, it's hard to envision because King is not walking through that door for at least another 3 games, in my opinion.
And King still hasn't shown us anything.
No, he's played 1 game.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a guy that's played 1 college football game that is coming off a broken leg that he probably, because he's such a competitor, rushed back from, with an O-line that they look better in run blocking at times tonight, but they also got absolutely humiliated on the pass rush quite a bit. And when they didn't, the quarterback missed guys or wouldn't let go of the football, and receivers weren't. I saw Jalen Preston make some plays. Saw Nice make a couple, but if it went from this to this, it's been a bad start to a season. That's for damn sure. A&M's on the list of, when you talk about most disappointing teams in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
And so far, this has been one of the most disappointing A&M teams that your first ones you've covered them way back, but to come out and put this product out there has been,
this because we were here, right? And I was getting used to being here. Mm-hmm. 1 season of 9-1, whatever. But it felt every year, and I understood the years prior, some of the issues, but it felt like here, and just like that down to here. And honestly, it's been since SEC Media Days, just like one thing after another. And the Kent State game didn't go good, and it went fine, but it didn't go fine.
Yeah, it just felt It was kind of a quick reminder. It was kind of like it was a little foreboding. You saw, and you're like, but
I kept on thinking, and I'm wrong for this. They're gonna figure it out. The line's going to get better by week 4. They're going to figure it out. And the defense, one of the best if not the best.
Right behind Georgia.
No.
These guys, I'll tell you what, I hope they should have done it this past week. I don't understand. They should do some real soul searching, some looking in the mirror, and I don't know what you can do, I get it. They're at a loss right now because it's at a loss to try to talk about it. But now you have to start thinking about, well, what does a disastrous season do? Big picture.
Yep.
You're trying to create this winning culture, and you finally instilled that in these guys. And they kind of no-show against Arkansas. At the end of the day, they've lost back-to-back to Arkansas and Mississippi State. So let's cut through all the crap and say, you're trying to catch up to Alabama, and you're trying to prove that you're up there now consistently with the LSUs and the Floridas of the world, and you're better than Auburn, and you've lost back-to-back to Mississippi State and Arkansas, and you're Texas A&M, and you're not. That's not part of the plan. That's not part of how you ascend to that mountaintop. And this has been a big setback. So the question becomes, what does that mean in terms of closing out recruits to be able to keep going at this? To keep this pace, because you can't look back, because who's right behind you? Everybody.
Yep.
Everybody. Ole Miss, they got humiliated today. They're behind. They're trying to close on you. Mississippi State, whatever, Arkansas, Sam freaking Pitt. You lost to Pittman and Leach back to back. And then, and by the way, you have Texas and Oklahoma in the rear view too, because they're about to come in. So this was the worst case scenario. This was what you couldn't afford, was to have this kind of start to this season. It was, and that's exactly what's happened. And look, the last thing you could have afforded was Haynes King to get hurt. Got hurt in the second game.
Yeah.
The last thing you could have afforded was a bunch of O-linemen to be getting hurt and some guys not pan out. And it's definitely been worst case scenario so far. There's no 2 ways around it.
Nothing to look forward to. I'm thinking freaking Bama coming up.
Yeah.
And this is none of this I could have seen happening. None of it.
No.
Not the way it's played out, Billy, because I'm going to tell you.
I would have told you that if you'd have told me what was going to happen to the offense, if you said there's going to be no Luke Matthews and you're going to be moving guys all over the O-line for the first 4 weeks and Haynes King's going to break his leg in week 2, I definitely would have been like, Offense is going to be rough. But then you know what I would have said? Jimbo will figure out a way for them to efficiently run the football with 28-6. They'll be able to do that, and they damn sure will be able to play defense. And the defense and running game, when I look at the early season schedule, I think they'd be able to still ride that to a 6-1 through the first 7 games with a loss to Bama. And it might be dicey, and there are going to be some fourth quarter games you weren't expecting, but that's what I would have told you. I would have said offense is going to be ragged. It's going to be rough, but they'll figure it out.
Again, though, give me that information. I agree about the offense, but I just didn't expect that they're going to play catch against our defense.
Yeah.
And when rushing 3 wasn't working, I would have rushed 5. I would have rushed because it wasn't working.
Yeah, you had to dial up something to get that quarterback out of a rhythm. We didn't see the halftime adjustments that Elko's known for. I mean, I'm sure, but they went right down the field to open the third quarter, straight down the field. Was that drive ended with what? Was that a field or missed field goal, or was that
the missed field goal? Yes,
that was the
that's
first
the one they got to the 14. Yeah, I'm looking at my
was
notes.
it though?
No, it was the second drive.
The first drive of the third quarter. What did they do? They went down the field and stalled out, I guess.
Yeah, let me go to it 1 second.
Point being, I think it was their second drive. They scored a touchdown. They went up 10. They were up 3. They went up 10 before A&M. I think it might have been the first drive of the third quarter, to be honest with you. But whatever. The second half was not. The defense didn't rise up. They had about 3 possessions there that they looked really good and or rose up and stopped them. But just nothing, man. They've had nothing for 2 weeks. They've had nothing, and that's been really disappointing to see.
It
really has.
Yeah, and we still got Alabama to go.
Talk a lot. We got a lot to talk about this week, man.
Oh man,
we really do.
Just give me a spirited. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully tomorrow my emotions will be better. We'll be able to break this game down a little bit. Thank you for coming in, Billy. Thank you guys for watching. Here are the TexAgs post game wrap brought to you by Higginbotham Insurance. We'll have a Luchador tomorrow. We'll have a show, obviously, TexAgs Radio, 8 a.m. on Monday morning. Thanks for watching.